keynote speaker, who is a local campus debater, Robert Kruse.
All right, well, thank you to Citizens for Liberty for having me, and thank you to Kruse for the invite, and congratulations to all the people who won the essay contest. This past August, I had the pleasure of visiting Washington, D.C. for a conference, and while I was in town, I got to visit the National Archives. There's been kind of a conversation going on lately about what exactly is the center of Western civilization, whether it be the history of London or Rome and its religious roots, or Athens and its emphasis on human reason. And my answer is always different. I always say Washington. And as I walked into the archives, I immediately saw the document responsible for diluting the king's powers in Britain and giving the power back to the people, the Magna Carta. A document that's over 700 years old, and it made the first recognizable legislative chamber that we'd see today, the British Parliament. But as I pressed through the halls up to the rotunda, I felt the weight of history coming down on me. In the rotunda, beneath the beautiful dome, sat our historic founding documents. First, our Declaration of Independence, the original founding document which so eloquently pronounces our freedom from a king, stating no one man should rule us all, while simultaneously laying out our natural rights, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Next, our Constitution, the document that gives us a roadmap for our government, perfectly dividing the powers between the three branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. Finally, our Bill of Rights. Before I speak on the initial 10 amendments, I want to be very clear. None of these documents could hold or even be here without the other two. Without the Declaration, there'd be no need for the new government laid out in the Constitution. Without the Constitution, we'd have no country, no united nation to defend from a tyrannical king, and our Declaration of Independence likely would not have held. But without our Bill of Rights, neither document would have the durability nor the perfection necessary to bring our young country together, and the United States of America would certainly look different than it does today. In Federalist 51, our fourth president, James Madison, sums up the necessity for the Bill of Rights to complement the Constitution perfectly. He says, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, no external nor internal controls on government would be necessary." Our framers understood both the need for government, because without government you'd have anarchy, and they understood the human tendency to grab power. The Bill of Rights is our defense from the human tendencies of our leaders. Whether it be our right to speak freely or practice religion as you wish, the right to due process through a speedy fair trial by a jury of your peers, and the freedom from unlawful search and seizure, or your ability to remain silent and defend yourself from self-incrimination. Maybe it's your safety from cruel and unusual punishment, or your ability to defend all of these rights from a tyrannical, overreaching government through the Second Amendment. This document puts a nation's citizens in a better position to have a successful bid for a free society than any other governmental structure in the history of the world. We should thank God for our founders, not because they were perfect, but because they knew man was not. We should thank them, not because our system is perfect, but because they knew it wouldn't be. The founders knew that man was imperfect. They knew that government would try to overstep. We should applaud our founders, not because our rights come from them, but because of the fact that they knew that we had rights given by God that should not be infringed upon. They had a deep understanding of human nature, and they had an understanding for what has made successful societies in the past, and how to replicate those ideals to create a successful society and was also free in the present. The Bill of Rights was a gift from our founders as the last line of defense for the people against governmental overreach, and we should never forget that. Our freedoms as Americans are all there, on an old, yellow, stained piece of paper, lying underneath inches of glass, beneath a dome, just steps from the White House the Capitol building, and the Supreme Court, right in the heart of Western civilization. Our 40th president, Ronald Reagan, was a staunch defender of these freedoms. He was quoted as saying, "Freedom is never more than a generation from extinction." But fortunately, as I look around the room today, I have a level of optimism that few hold for our future. Our founders were young, most in their 20s and 30s. They built the foundations of our nation's institutions. I believe that our generation will be the generation that proudly passes down these freedoms to the next. The freedoms endowed by our Creator and transcribed by our founders, or alternatively, we could give in. Free speech is under constant attack. The will to silence dissent happens across the country, but specifically on the campuses of our colleges and universities. Professors who disagree with students look to squash their point of view, killing pushback of their ideology. There has been much talk of hate speech and how it's not defended in the Constitution. I have a news flash. It is protected under the Constitution, thanks to the Bill of Rights. There's no such thing as illegal hate speech. I'm allowed to say that I hate you just as much as you're allowed to say that you hate me. I'm allowed to think that you're a fool for saying something, but what I'm not permitted to do is remove your constitutional right to speak your mind about something. This isn't to say that you can't be fired for something that you say. If an employer finds something that you say distasteful, they can fire you. However, if you're bad for business, you should be fired. That's how the free market works. How do we push back against the free speech haters, though? Flood the zone with more speech, more dissent. Speak up, do the work. Push back against school administrators who try and silence you. Push back against those who don't allow you to protest. If they say no, protest anyway. I don't know about you, but if a professor tried to silence me in class, I do pay their salary, and I'm not about to let someone, let alone someone whose salary I pay, to silence me. The answer is no. No, we will not give in. No to tyranny, no to overreach, no to censorship, no to the infringement of my constitutional rights. To quote George W. Bush, we will not waver, we will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail. Peace and freedom will prevail. We will not give away the freedoms that were penned by our founders 240 years ago and defended all over the world by our military. Rather, we'll stand up for them. We will not back down. Thank you.